Hey guys, it's Miko from M1 Sound Lab, and today I'll be showing you the new PR cap packs, meaning pre-Rola. And we just came out with these last week. These are 4 different guitar cabinets based on 4 different variations of the pre-Rola Celestion Greenback speaker in a Marshall 4x12 cabinet, obviously. And cool thing here is that we have all 4 main versions of the pre-Rola. Most of you will have heard about the Greenback, and these all are Greenbacks, but the main difference here is that there were so many different versions of the Greenback even back in the day. So for example, the Greenback used by Jimi Hendrix is very different to the one used by AC/DC, or the one used by Eddie Van Halen, or the one used by Jimmy Page. You know, there were differences. The patch that I'm running right now is really simple. All I'm doing is using the Axe-Fx III, and the amp sim is a Plexi 50-watt jumped model, and it's really simple. It's the default settings. I'll reset them to show you. All that I really did was lower the bass just a little bit, raise the middle, treble, and presence. I'm not even sure if those are the exact settings. Maybe I had the treble down a little bit, but you know, that's it. And the reverb is just a really minor plate reverb. You can barely hear it. Just adding that little bit of room type sound in there. And this is what I'm doing in the cap lock, so this might be a little bit complicated for people that are not used to the Axe-Fx III, but essentially I have 4 IRs here loaded in this cap block, and I have all the 4 mixes running simultaneously right now. So what you're hearing right now is all these different variations of the pre-Rola combined together, and they sound like this. But obviously you want to hear what the differences are, so I'll quickly kind of explain it by words. The variations here are the size of the magnet in the speaker, and the cone being a base cone or a lead cone. And H stands for heavy, and 55 stands for the base cone, 75 stands for the lead cone, 75 Hz was the lead cone, 55 Hz was the base cone, and the M letter stands for the medium size magnet. So the heavy magnet kind of gives you a brighter sound generally, while the 55 Hz base cone gives you kind of a neutral frequency response. And the 75 Hz cone, the lead cone, is kind of like a scooped sound with some of those high mids coming in. So the one speaker that you now know as the Greenback, so to say, that is called the Greenback nowadays by Celestion, but obviously these are 50 years old, is the medium-sized magnet with the 75 Hz cone. So the M75 here, this is the speaker used by AC/DC and, you know, everyone. So and the guitar that I'm using is actually my PRS gold top, so maybe I'll demonstrate some single coil stuff as well, but mainly I'll just be playing on the humbucker modes. So the medium-sized magnet with the 75 Hz cone is probably the most common Greenback, and this is the original one, the one used by all the classic guitar icons. So the sound is kind of just scooped a little bit, kind of like all modern speakers are. So this is the most modern sounding out of all these options. And the 75 Hz cone gives that kind of scooped sound, while the M magnet, the medium magnet, will not be as bright as the heavy magnet, so it's kind of really good for that mid-range type stuff, even though it's scooped, so it's kind of balanced in a cool way. Let's compare this mix to the other end of the spectrum, which is the H55. So this will have the heavy magnet and the bass cone. And this is the speaker used by Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Ritchie Blackmore, you know, all the icons. So So, earlier I said that the heavy magnet is brighter, and it is brighter, but the bass cone is not. So, what kind of happens here is that the bass cone makes the brighter sound kind of more balanced, and this is actually a little bit darker than the M75. So, even though the magnets, the medium magnets, will be darker, the cone makes a bigger difference. So having that bass cone there will give you a darker sound, and well, this is, in my opinion at least, the creamiest Marshall sound that I've, I can think of. And I feel like the reason why Jimmy and so many other players back in the day really liked to use the bass cones was because it tames that top high-end presence area, especially people that used Fender Strats back in the day. I'm splitting the coils on the PRS so you can kind of hear it. While doing this with the M75, it will not sound bad either, but it's a lot more creamier with the H55. Now the cool part here is that we have the in-betweeners. So the H75, this has the same magnet as the H55, the speaker used by Jimmy, but it has the lead cone used by AC/DC, so it's somewhere in between. And what you get with this is actually the bright sound of the heavy magnet and the scooped sound of the lead cone, meaning that this is a scooped bright sound, meaning that it's really good for metal. So what I really want to use this for is Black Sabbath, to even like modern metal. And I'm playing a Plexi style amp into this speaker and it sounds so brutal. That goes to show the power of IRs once again. Last and definitely not least, we have the M55. So this has the medium magnet, so it's not that bright, and it also has the bass cone, so it's not bright again. So this is the darkest sounding speaker out of all these. So this is what it sounds like. And it doesn't really sound muffled, even though it is the darkest speaker out of all these options. It doesn't sound muffled. It's still super creamy, and it's probably the best one with a single coil even. Very pleasant sounding once again. I'll quickly demonstrate the different brightness variations with the 57 with each speaker, so you'll have a really good idea of the different variations you can get with just the brightnesses and the single mics. So let's just start with the Jimmy speaker, the H55 heavy magnet bass cone. This is the darkest position you can get with the 57 and this cat pack. And now I'll start moving the microphone to the middle of the speaker. I think we all agree that the brightest position, E, is pretty bright on its own, but it's awesome for some blending. I personally think that if you're just using the 57, you may not want to use the dead center position on its own, but obviously you can do whatever you want. But that's the variation you can get with just the 57 on this one cap pack. So that's awesome. So let's go to the next speaker, and that'll be the H75. So that's the meanest sounding one, the scooped one, the metal sounding one. So the same thing, darkest position will be like this. And the 57 position dead center on the speaker sounds better on the 75 Hz cone. So this is much more usable in the middle position here. And then the M55, and this is once again the darkest speaker option that's available here. So the medium magnet is darker than the heavy one, and the 55 Hz cone is the bass cone. So this is the darkest speaker, and 57 on this speaker will sound like. And this being kind of a darker speaker, the middle position works great, and I'd probably have it around the C brightness. And last and definitely not the least, the M75, and this, you know, this is, in my opinion, the perfectly balanced pre-Rola Greenback. So the darkest position will be like this. that brightest position on this speaker does have that Marshall Kerrang type sizzle to it. So even though it is kind of a nasty sound, it's kind of the Marshall sound. So for that reason, I think it's crucial to have that microphone position here. So but you know, I would have probably the darkest position, at least for rhythm guitars. And that's essentially it. Remember, this is just one microphone of these cat packs. You have 8 microphones that you can use, 3 Shure dynamic microphones, an E906 MD421, 2 ribbon microphones, the Voyeur and the M160 by Beyerdynamic, and a Neumann condenser microphone as well. So you have a lot of variations in there. You have 5 mixes for every pack. And right now we have the bundle deal, so you can get all of these for a really low price. So go check out the packs. I cannot emphasize enough that I did essentially no tweaking at all. I have the Plexi amps in here. I can even demonstrate this by completely having everything at noon and the default settings. And I'll just use all these mic positions. Let's just choose the darkest position for every 57 here, and I think it should sound pretty cool. So this is all the speakers, default settings on the Plexi, and this is the sound. You know, it's very effortless to get that authentic vintage sound with these IR. So go check them out while they're on sale. It will go out soon, so please be quick, and see you later. And remember to subscribe. Cheers.